I just want to show off my next project. Got a couple of these BST1s from Dayton Audio, and just gonna put one under my seat, attached to these boards, so I got some MDF. Saw some reviews on, or like some, thoughts on how to mount these, on a couple of YouTube channels, and um, this is more of a reversible way of doing this. So decided to take two of these, one under the seat, one under the pedals, and I'll just mount those to the boards. I already cut them up to the size I wanted, and then drilled the mounting holes. Got the hardware for it from the hardware store. And I'm gonna mount mine right into the seat right there, right under the rail on the ASR4, and then under the plate right there. So I just did like a little 8x8 section, for that 8x8 inch. So we'll see how that works out. I've heard using these with the Nobsound amplifier, 100 watt. These are 50 watts a piece. So that's a 2-channel amplifier, and it would give some good haptic feedback. I was gonna put one on each side of the seat, but I've heard the best, kind of like budget setup is probably, one in the back, one in the front. Usually kind of like miss, the side by side ends up blending together. So I decided to, try just mounting on the, right under the seats, right under the pedals. So I'll let you know how that goes. Yep, that'll be my setup. Let you know how that goes. What I added, what haptics, I'm adding. Really looking forward to the gear shift and maybe a little bit of engine rumble. But I'll show you what I tuned in. All right, thank you. Bye. There now, both of those guys. There's the front and then under the seat. This will just go to the pedal plate, so that's why I made it pretty small. We can drill holes anywhere we need to there. But they're both mounted on there with some lock nuts. We just look at the bottom. I just use some lock nuts because there's gonna be some good amount of vibration on this board, on this MDF board. So, all right. Next is to mount them on the rig and drill a couple holes. Got some M6 bolts to bolt those, into the plate and then the profile into the seat. All right.
Showing off my sim hub settings now. Now that I got everything wired up. As you saw in the previous section, showed a little shot of my Nobsound. That is hooked to a USB port in the PC, and of course the right and left channels hooked up on on the bass shakers. So you're actually going to use this tab here. And the Nobsound shows up as this USB device, and you can actually like set it up a couple different ways where you can do like mono, right, left, front, rear. I think the best is just getting this customization so you can actually like tune, how much of per channel this effect goes in, because then you'll go into effects profile and set it here. But the best luck I've had, is actually just going through and setting this up. Now you can figure out which channel is which just by hitting that. I feel, yeah, this is my front and this is the rear here. So it's sometimes it could be a little tricky when you're doing this, just because like I have them hooked up to the rig, so the whole rig kind of vibrates, but when you have your heels on the heel plate, you can really feel, when that's shaking. So at your feet, compared to your seat. So um, really cool. You get to test those pieces there, and then I just added a couple pieces. A lot of these are off. Some of these are kind of on by default, and you want to shut all those off. Like if I test channel 8, nothing happens because there's no channel for that. Um, and I only turn on the things I actually want to use. So I recently turned this one on. Um, I didn't really see much do with that. I kind of shut it off, just playing around with that. That's kind of a newer feature. I didn't do ABS um, on any of these because I'm going to later have some pucks on the pedals, and that'll kind of give me an active pedal sort of feel. Won't be quite the same, but very similar to the Sim Magic, um, like motors that they put on pedals. So, but I have some Dayton Audio, I think it's TT25 pucks I'll put on there. So we got actually like this feature, the deceleration G-force. So when I'm braking hard, I can really feel, kind of like how heavily I'm braking. So that's good feedback. Um, Careful with the engine vibration. That one's on all the time, but I really like, you know, like feeling that, hey, it's like you're in a real car, sort of thing. So, so I like that quite a bit. Of course, the gear shift, that's fun. I limit it a little bit on the front on the pedal plate just so it didn't get overwhelming. Um, but I did want to feel that, so I've been playing around with that a bit. Um, let's see, road impacts. This is kind of a front and rear. You can have different feelings coming through the front and rear, so that's why. Um, I have like only the front ones on the front, obviously, and the rear ones on the rear, sort of thing. So, and then road rumbles, you could have this set up. Like I said, like I took a shortcut by saying someone else's advice on YouTube. Where like, okay, if you put it in each corner, it's just gonna vibrate everything. But I've heard a lot of people also have success with the corners, so you could have one at each corner. In my case, of course, I have front and rear, so I just turn on the fronts here and the rears here. Pretty obvious. Um, yeah, a little bit of RPMs, not too much. Of course, the traction loss, wheel lock, wheel slip. Make sure those are on. If you play with them in the effects profile, then you go to effects profile. This is where, as long as you have them enabled in the sound output, you can play with them here. Like I have this enabled, and now I just have it at 25%. I don't want it to be overwhelming. I just want to have it a little bit of feedback, especially in that pedal plate. When I'm braking hard, I can actually feel that. And when I have the puck on there, I also feel the ABS when I just go over that limit, sort of thing. Of course, also the dash tells me that as well. Um, so we also have engine vibration. So I put that at like 12. I've set it pretty low. I don't want it to be overwhelming, but I want to feel it, just for that immersion factor. So I set that pretty low because that one can be overwhelming. Um, I got the gear shift down here, set at 100, and these buttons right here allow you to, on the gear shift at least, it allows you to test. So you might not be able to hear that, but it's very faint even at 100%. So but you definitely feel it when you actually shift, and it gives a good, really nice immersion factor. Um, so like playing around with like impacts and road impacts. I think most of when I'm like going through and running the car, um, we'll see these. Usually it's this one, that is like giving me a lot of feedback. Um, and then what's really nice is the rumble strips, and this is where you're gonna get like, hey, my left tire is on the rumble strip, my right tire is on the rumble strip, or the front and the rear, sort of thing. So, um, so in me, it's just front and rear, So there's my rear and my front, That's that's all I get to feel there. Trying to leave room to maybe upgrading to that in the future, to see if that's gonna make a difference. But I'll be asking around with other people's experiences, like how well this is working. Yeah, if you have a good experience with that, let me know in the comments. Um, because I'm definitely open to doing that. Just adding a couple more bass shakers on there. Um, So traction loss, that one can be very, very overwhelming too. But you want to notice this one, when when you're starting to go, you get close to the limit, sort of thing. So that's why I leave those ones on there. So those are kind of like the main settings, that I'm using. Playing around with acceleration, G-force, I enabled it and then disabled it, stuff like that. But you're just gonna end up tweaking this over and over again. I keep hearing over and over again as well that less is more for this sort of thing. You don't want to be overwhelmed. You just want to feel that feedback because you're gonna have so much vibration going on, especially if that engine running, and then you get your gear shift, and you start getting traction loss. It can be overwhelming and might confuse some of the effects, so you gotta be careful with that. But it's a bunch of tweaking, and then when you get in the right spot, it's beautiful. So it does so much for the immersion factor, you know and even like finding limits, um like when I'm getting the deceleration braking, I'm feeling I'm getting closer to getting the ABS or locking up. And then the traction loss when you're like going around a corner and you're like on the edge of grip, and then you start feel it to fall over. I'm like, okay, I've basically found the edge of grip, for that corner. So it is helping me there, to feel that out. All right, now I'm jumped in iRacing and parked it out on one of the straights here. Um, and you see we have curbs on the left-hand side. We also want to feel the engine noise when it first starts up, and feel those gear shifts. So I'll turn on ignition. There we go. Ooh, felt the startup. Feel the engine noise when I revved the engine. Um, felt the gear shift just now. And I feel those in both the front plate and the rear plate. I felt the curbs. And very commonly, just because you're gonna have both tires in the curb, you're gonna feel it in both the front and the back. And feel it there too. Nice. So really nice. Just gives that really good immersion feel. So yeah, just wanted to show that. Not sure how much you're gonna get out of that, just because you might hear it over the mic, maybe not. But yeah, highly recommended. Anyways, let me know anything in the comments, anything you'd like to see, and then I'll try to show it off. Thank you. Bye.